Hey guys, welcome back. I'm actually recording this video after a very long time. I kind of took a break from recording this course for several months actually, and now we're in the coronavirus lockdown, so I finally found the time to continue recording this course for you. So here we are. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to answer the section 2 of the listening test. So let's go over the basics. As we've already discussed, the section number 2 is going to be a monologue, which is a speech by one person. It's going to be set in an everyday social context. There are going to be a total of 10 questions, and similar to section 1, section number 2 is also going to be split up into 2 parts. So you're going to have 2 sets of questions. And before each set, you're going to have a prep time of 20 to 30 seconds. Now, let me show you some examples here. Here we have a bunch of multiple choice questions. And here, what I really want to emphasize on is just to show you the type of questions that you're going to be getting in section 2 and what kind of tricks and traps you're going to see. So here is our question set, and of course there's not going to be just 3 questions in a question set, okay? In a question set you're typically going to have 5 to 6 questions, but right here I'm only looking at 3 questions just to give you a little feel for section 2, to give you an idea of what to expect from section 2 and how to go about answering these questions. In the next video, we'll be going into more detail, and I'll be doing an entire section 2 in front of you from beginning to end, and you can join along in that. But first, let's take a look at how to answer these questions. So here is our question set, and first, in the beginning, you're going to have a prep time, right? The 20 to 30 seconds. And here's what you're going to be doing in that prep time. The strategy is very similar to section 1. Basically, it's the same, but I just wanted to give you a variation just to show you how you would go about it with a multiple choice question in section 2. So let's take a look at this. The first thing you'll do in the prep time, as always, as with any other section, you're going to read the instructions. The instructions here are telling us that we can only pick one correct letter, one correct choice over here, A, B, or C. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to start marking the keywords in the question. Remember, keywords are subjects, objects, and verbs. Proper nouns are great keywords like the word Mannheim over here, names, dates, places, numbers. These are great keywords because they're really easy to identify and they're really easy to pick up on. So any word that you see here, basically in a nutshell, any word that you see here that you think is going to help you to identify the answer, just go ahead and mark those words. You can underline them or circle them. Here I've just highlighted them, but basically just mark any words that you think are going to help you in identifying the answer or identifying when the answer is about to come in the audio. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm marking the keywords that I think are going to help me, and I'm starting off by first marking the words in the question. So here are the keywords in the question for question number 1. Why? Because when I hear a reason in the audio tape, for example, anytime I hear words like because or since or due to, anytime I hear anything like that, I'm going to be alerted. I'm going to know that this may be where my answer is going to come. Okay? Same thing with port. They're going to start talking about port. That's going to be easy to identify. Mannheim, of course, develop, and of course any synonyms for the word. So mark those keywords that you think are going to help you. Next, for question number 2, here are the keywords that I've marked. What? Sudden expansion and industrial revolution. That's going to be very easy to identify. It's a proper noun. And with question number 3, we have why, rocks, sent away, and processed. Notice I haven't really marked manum here. And the reason I've done that, the reason I haven't marked it here is because I realize now that this entire listening assignment, this entire audio tape is going to talk about manum port. Okay, so what that means is this is a repetitive keyword. When we have a word that is going to repeat over and over again in the audio, then that means that that is a repetitive keyword. So the word manum appears over here. It also appears down here. And I'm sure that the word manum is going to appear several times in the audio because the entire audio is about manum port. So, what do you think, guys? If there is a word like manum that is repeatedly getting repeated again and again, do you think that that is a word that is going to help us very much? Not really. See, whenever we have a word that keeps repeating over and over again, then that keyword can no longer be called a keyword, really, because it loses its value. Because when the word is appearing again and again, then it makes it difficult for us to identify that word, right? Because it's just appearing all over the place. So because of that, it loses its value. So in such a case, we should not be paying attention to keywords like manum, at least not a lot. If you want to, kind of be on the lookout for it, that's fine. But you need to realize that when we have words like this in a question, it's better to pay more attention to other keywords in the question. Okay, the word manum doesn't really help us. It appears here, it appears over here, it appears over here, it appears in every single question. So it's not very helpful. Okay, so we're only looking for keywords that are going to help us. Okay, so after you have marked all of these keywords in the questions, what are you going to do next? Can you guess? If you guessed mark the keywords in the answer choices, then that is correct. And that's exactly what we're going to do if we have extra time left over after marking the keywords in the question. Only then should you go back and mark the keywords in the answer choices. I should point out here though that most of the times the keywords in the question are going to be the most helpful, okay? So don't worry so much about marking the keywords in the answer choices. The main thing to look out for are the keywords in the question. Those are the keywords that are really going to help us the most. But if you have extra time, then go ahead and mark some of the keywords from the answer choices as well. This can also help. So here are the keywords that I've marked from the answer choices to question number 1. Here are my keywords from the answer choices to question number 2. And finally, here are the keywords for number 3. Okay, so those are the things that we do in the prep time. And again, take note that you should only do this if you have extra time. Okay, only if you have extra time left over, then you should come back and mark the keywords in the answer choices. But otherwise, pay more attention to the keywords in the questions. That's more important. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to go over these questions with you. So I'm going to be playing the audio tape now, and I want you to be on the lookout for the correct answers to these questions. I want you to pay very close attention, be very mindful in your listening, be very attentive in your listening, and try to spot the correct answers. Also pay attention to the synonym language and watch out for the tricks and traps that you may encounter. Okay, I'm going to be playing the audio tape now, and as we go along, what I'm going to do is when I hear the answer, I'm going to mark it immediately in the answer choices. Okay, so you have to be fast and you have to follow along and you have to be on the lookout for the answer and mark it or have it in your mind soon as you hear it. Okay, so I want you to do this with me. So here we go. Let's begin.
Section 2. You will hear a recorded talk giving an introduction to the historical theme park of Manham Riverport in England. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15.
Guys, I want you to notice here that the guy said that you have some time to look at questions 11 through 15. Notice that that is a set of 5 questions, okay? But over here, we're only looking at 3 questions since this is just an example.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Welcome to Manham Port, where 1,000 years of history are brought to life. All the family can enjoy a day out at Manham, visit our copper mine, see models of the machinery it used, have your photo taken in 19th century costume, experience at first hand how people lived at different stages throughout history, and especially how children studied, worked and played. The port of Manham is located in beautiful and peaceful countryside, on a bend in the great River Avon, and developed here because it's the highest navigable point of the Avon. Boats can go no higher up this river, and proved a handy place to load and unload cargo to and from the sea, which is over 23 miles away. A small port was already established here when, about 900 years ago, tin was discovered nearby, though it wasn't until the Industrial Revolution, when a tremendous need for metals of all kinds developed, that Manham expanded to become one of the busiest ports in the country. And because it was already so busy, prospectors began to look for other minerals, and by the end of the 19th century, lead, copper, manganese and arsenic were added to the cargoes leaving Manham. In the early days, the ores had been smelted or processed in the same area they were mined. But as demand grew, the smelting process required huge factory furnaces or fires to melt the metal from the rock, and there was not enough coal in the local area, so the rocks containing minerals had to be shipped long distances. Sadly, in the 20th century, the great port of Manham declined, and thousands of workers were forced to emigrate out of the area. The building at the port fell into disrepair, and the place became almost forgotten.
Okay, great. So we're going to stop the recording there. We're not going to go through the entire thing since we're just looking at these 3 questions, but hope you got a taste for this. I know that that was a little bit trickier than the questions in section number 1, but this is what you can expect in section number 2. So my question to you now is, how many of these did you manage to answer correctly? And were you able to follow along? If you need to, go ahead and rewind this video and take another look at it. And if you didn't catch it the first time, I want you to play this part of the video again and see if you can follow it along the second time. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to the analysis of this particular audio. Here we go. So we're going to start off by first looking at question number 1. So here are the keywords that we had marked for question number 1 in the question and in the answer choices, and the correct answer was the letter B. Now, if you didn't manage to get it correct, or if you somehow missed it, let me show you why this is the correct answer. So here we have the transcript, and I'm just looking at a small portion of the transcript that deals directly with the answer to question number 1, okay? So we're just looking at this brief snippet just to show you why this is the correct answer choice. In the transcript, and also guys, bear in mind that I'm just showing you this transcript here for the purposes of explanation in order to help you understand and comprehend what's really going on behind the scenes, okay? I want to break this down and it is for the purposes of analysis that I'm showing you this transcript. In the actual IELTS exam, you are never going to see this transcript in a text format. In the IELTS listening test, you are only going to hear the transcript, okay? You will never see it. So just keep that in mind. So here we're just doing this for analysis. So let's go ahead and break it up. Over here, soon as the audio tape begins, they talk about Manam Port, okay? So that's not very helpful, as we already talked about. This is a repetitive keyword, so it's not very helpful to us. The next thing they talk about is, again, Manam over here. So let me just read this. The lady says, "Welcome to Manam Port, where 1,000 years of history are brought to life. All the family can enjoy a day out at Manam." It's kind of just going on and giving a history of Manam Port. It's talking about the significance of Manam Port. Okay, so the word appears several times over here, and take note that we have not yet heard any of our keywords, okay? So the main thing we're looking at now is the word develop, and particularly why did this port develop, okay? The port and Manham, they're not very useful keywords, so I'm kind of ignoring that. I'm kind of keeping it in my mind as well, but mainly I'm looking for why did it develop. Those are the main keywords I'm looking for, and I haven't found them yet. So I'm going to keep listening very carefully. And right around here, it starts to talk about where it is located. So it says, the port of Manam is located in beautiful and peaceful countryside on a bend in the great river. Now, it's talking about beautiful and peaceful countryside, and that is really talking about the location or the position. Okay, why was it located here? So it's talking about position. It's located on the peaceful countryside, okay, on a bend in the great river. So that is synonym language for seacoast. Seacoast. Located is synonym language for position. Now what I want you to take note of here is that this is a trap, okay, and this is a wrong answer trap. In fact, it is a more complicated trap because they are also using synonym language. Basically, they have disguised this answer choice as synonym language, okay? So just be mindful of that. The wrong answer choices can also use synonym language. But this is not the correct answer choice, of course, okay? Because it's not talking about why it developed. That's what we're looking for. Remember, in these questions, in both the fill in the blank and the multiple choice questions, we are looking for very specific information. So if I don't hear that specific information, why did it develop? Then that is not going to be the correct answer. Okay, moving on. Here it starts to talk about development. So there is my keyword, developed. And why did it develop? Because. So now when I hear the word developed and I hear the word because, I know that my answer is now coming up. So I'm going to pay extra special attention now, okay? And guys, by the way, you know, the trick to paying attention is to relax, okay? You cannot really be stressed about it. It's almost like when you squint your eyes, it becomes difficult to see, right? If you want to see clearly, you have to relax your eyes. And so it's the same thing with listening. If you are going to listen, you have to be relaxed. If you're not relaxed, if your mind is not relaxed, then you're not going to be able to take in all that information, okay? You have to be relaxed. Your ears have to be relaxed. Your mind has to be relaxed. And you have to trust yourself that you are going to be able to listen and you are going to be able to follow along easily, okay? You have to have that faith in your mind, in your ears, and in your body. So, with that being said, let's move on. Right here, it tells me that my answer is now coming up. So it says, it developed here because it's the highest navigable point of the Avon. Boats can go no higher. And furthermore, over here it says it proved a handy place to load and unload cargo. Okay, handy place. What is that synonym language for? Can you guess? Take a look at these answer choices. What is this synonym language for? Handy place. Well, handy place is synonym language for convenient. Convenient, okay? And then over here we have load and unload cargo. What is that synonym language for? That is synonym for transport. So this is how it works. They're going to be using the synonym language in the correct answer choices, and sometimes also in the wrong answer choices. So it's really all about comprehension. It's all about understanding what is being said. Okay, let's move on to our next question now. Question number 2. In question number 2, our correct answer was, again, the letter B. The correct answer was the increase in demand for metals. So once again, the question was, what caused Mannheim's sudden expansion during the Industrial Revolution? What caused the expansion? So my main keywords that I'm looking for are Industrial Revolution and what caused the sudden expansion. Here is the transcript, and let's take a look at the keywords in the transcript. So right away, they start to talk about tin. And if you mark the keyword tin in the answer choices, you may think that that is the correct answer. Maybe it was because they discovered tin, right? It says tin was discovered. So this is an exact language trap. If you don't understand the meaning of what is being said, then you are going to get it wrong. That's why comprehension is very important. This is an exact language trap. They're throwing around the exact keywords from the answer choice because they want you to pick that answer choice. Okay? So they want you to pick that wrong answer choice. Moving on, here it starts to talk about the Industrial Revolution. So it says that this port was established 900 years ago and tin was discovered nearby. However, it wasn't until the Industrial Revolution when something happened, okay? And what happened? It talks about that over here. There was a tremendous need for metals. So here we have the keyword Industrial Revolution, and because of that, we know our answer is coming up. And soon after this, we see this word over here, tremendous need, which is basically synonym language for demand, right? Increase in demand, huge demand. Then we have the keyword metals. So the word metals appears over here. And we have the word Mannheim expanded, okay? So here is the main keyword, one of the main keywords we were looking for, expanded. Why did it expand? So here we have our answer. When a tremendous need for metals of all kinds developed, Mannheim expanded. Okay, so this was the reason why Mannheim expanded. And this is, of course, synonym language, as we've already mentioned. Let's move on to question number 3. And this is our final question. And answer choice A was the correct answer choice here. Why did rocks have to be sent away from Mannheim to be processed? The answer was because there was a shortage of fuel. Here is the transcript. And here it's talking about the word processed. Okay, in the early days, the ores had been smelted or processed. Okay, so those are synonym words. Smelted is synonym language for processed, but it also clarifies that here. So here is our main keyword, one of our main keywords. And then over here, it mentions the word process again. Down here, we have the word rock, which is one of the keywords from the question. Why did rocks have to be sent away? And it says over here that as the demand grew, the process required huge factory furnaces to melt the metal from the rock. And guess what? There wasn't enough coal in the local area, right? There wasn't enough coal. Guys, what do we use coal for? Well, there's only one main purpose of coal, which is what? To use it as fuel. So that there is synonym language. Okay, coal is synonym language for fuel. So there was not enough coal, or in other words, there was a shortage of fuel. That is synonym language. And then here it talks about local area, which is just a keyword from another answer choice, from a wrong answer choice. Just something to be mindful of. It mentions rocks again. And over here, it clarifies that the rocks that contain the minerals had to be shipped long distances. Okay, so it's telling us exactly why did these rocks have to be sent away. Why did they have to be, in other words, shipped away? Okay, sent away and shipped away are synonym words. They mean the same thing. So that there is our correct answer. Why were they sent away, or why were they shipped long distances? Because there was a shortage of fuel, or because there was not enough coal. It's the same thing, okay? Synonym language, very important in the IELTS listening test. Practice it. So over here, I want to point out one final thing, which is that we have a trap over here, which is, it's not really a trap actually, it's more like a trick. It's more like a little trick that they've used just to throw you off a little bit, which is a simple word reorder. So you may recall that word reorder happens when we switch around the position of the words or position of the phrases. So here in the question, it first talks about why the rocks had to be sent away, and then here it talks about the answer, which is the shortage of fuel, right? So first it has the question and then the answer. Over here we have it the other way around. First it mentions the answer. First it says that because there was not enough coal, the minerals had to be shipped away, or the rocks had to be shipped away. Okay, so over here, first we have the question, why, and then here we have the answer, which is the reason. But over here, we have the reason first, and then the why part comes later on in the sentence. But if you understand what the sentence is really talking about, if you comprehend the meaning, then this should not be a big deal. Okay? So section 2 is still relatively easy compared to sections 3 and 4. So we're going to be looking at that very soon. But in the next video, I want to show you practice questions from section 2, and I want to show that to you from the beginning to end so you can follow along and get some hands-on practice. So I'll see you there.